Hey guys, this is Sarah Elena, and today we're going to be talking about the residency requirements here in Costa Rica. But first, if you don't know me, this is your first time here on the channel. I help people move to Costa Rica. So gosh, we have one-on-one services, retreats. Those are so amazing. We just wrapped one up and we have another one coming up. So definitely check the link in the description below if you would love like an in-person, experience where you get to meet all the experts. And it's just a really fantastic, amazing week. So we have retreats. New do-it-yourself, move to Costa Rica course. I just have a lot over there on the website that if you're really gung-ho about moving to Costa Rica, I guarantee I have something for you there. Also, there's this entire YouTube channel, which is tons and tons of information for free that is out there as well, and a podcast. So recently, put out a new podcast, and I'm really excited about it with me and my good friend Jairo. So we're talking about different topics and, just our own life story and some motivational stuff and information about Costa Rica as well. So welcome to the channel. I'm happy you're here. And today we're going to be talking about the residency categories. Also, in the description below, you're going to see a link to book a call with me. Go ahead and book this call only if you're really serious about moving or taking a scouting trip here, just to be respectful of everyone's time. There's lots of free information here on this channel for you to kind of get to that point if you do. But once you do, that's when we come in and that's when we can help. All right, so let's get into it. So we're going to bring out the handy dandy iPad again, like we usually do whenever we're kind of doing some educational content. Okay, here we have our iPad. We're all ready to rock and roll. And let's talk about these residency categories. So we're going to talk about the most popular residency categories. I've talked about these categories before on the channel, but some things have definitely changed. So I want to kind of go through them with you. And just, again, if you're new to the idea of moving to Costa Rica, then it's good for us to kind of refresh on these. And maybe you don't know these already. So I do talk a lot of people who have no idea what the residency categories are, so it's good for us to, go over them. So number one, again, these are residency categories. This isn't a visa. Like I just did a video on tourist visas, on digital nomad visa. This is a residency category. These are not citizenship. This is not a citizenship. And also, this is not going to mean that you all of a sudden cannot have your citizenship in your home country. So for example, I'm a permanent resident here in Costa Rica. I have my permanent residency and I am a US citizen. So my passport is from the United States, but I have my permanent resident card here for Costa Rica. Just as an example, because that's a very common question that I get. They go, oh, well, I do need to give up my citizenship of wherever, my residency in my home country to become a resident of Costa Rica, but no, you really don't. So, okay, number one we're going to talk about is Pensionado. So that's the pensioner residency category. Okay, that would be someone who has a lifelong pension. Could be Social Security, maybe it's from your company, whatever it is, it needs to say it's lifelong. Could be from the military. I work with a lot of retired military, so that's a common one that I'll see, but it has to be a lifelong pension. Again, it's okay if it's from a company. It doesn't have to be from Social Security. Just has to state that it's lifelong. Of at least $1,000 US. So as long as you have a lifelong pension of at least $1,000 US, then that's one way that you can get residency. And again, we're just going to kind of be breezing through these a bit. This is just more general. Whenever we work with people, we have a residency attorney that we forward them to actually get their residency. Like a lot of what we'll do is we'll see if you qualify for a category. So we'll ask you some questions, see if you actually qualify for one, or if you might qualify for one in the future. And that's okay, because maybe you don't qualify for one right off the bat. And the thing is about this could be lifetime disability too, like I said, military benefits, pensions from private companies, and you can have dependents. So your dependents can be your spouse, children under the age of 25, and children over the age of 25 if they have special needs. Okay, so one thing that I do want to note, that this is first, you're going to have temporary residency first. This will give you temporary residency first. Once this is granted, you'll have temporary residency. Then at the third year, you can go ahead and make the change from temporary to being a permanent resident. And if you are a temporary resident, in this period, please remember that you cannot legally work as a temporary resident under this category. When you're a permanent resident, you can then legally work. So you have to have this for a few years, then you can switch your status over from temporary to permanent, and then you can legally work here in the country. So that leads me to my next one. Rentista actually works the exact same in terms of you're going to become a temporary resident first, can't legally work, and then you can go ahead and legally work after you're a permanent resident. Now you can work online, and I have other videos on this channel about what's legal, what's not legal, all of that stuff. As a temporary resident, you can buy property, you can purchase a business, you can start a business, you can legally profit off of it. I will link the other video and where I discuss how that works below, so you can understand that a little bit more. But this video is just for us to go through the different residency categories for Costa Rica. So this is called the small investor. So Rentista. So there were some changes in the Rentista. So there was actually a lot of changes last year that happened. So number one, for the Rentista residency category, you have to show that you have a guaranteed income of at least $2,500 for at least 24 months. You know, that's for 2 years. So that satisfies your temporary residency time period. Now, this can't come from employment. And you know what people used to do? They used to deposit $60,000 into a CD in Costa Rica, and then they'd have the bank issue a letter stating that they are releasing $2,500 to that person every, like I said, every month for the 24 months, and then that would satisfy it. But you can't do that anymore. Costa Rica has determined that you're basically just putting your own money somewhere and then having it sent back to yourself, and that's not really any kind of investment. So here's this is what the kind of income that you have to have. So it has to be permanent and stable and irrevocable. So examples of this could be a 2-year, maybe, check with a lawyer, a 2-year lease on a property. Don't completely quote me on that, but see what lawyer you speak to. We talked about that as an option. A 401k retirement plan, that could be possible, because maybe that doesn't say it's lifelong, but it is for X amount of years. An investment dividends or a disability pension for a specific period. Like if you have a disability pension of at least that amount for 5 years, you can go ahead and have your temporary and switch over to being a permanent resident. Because remember, whenever you want to switch over, you're going to have to show that you still have that same thing going for you in order to go from temporary to permanent residency. So that's another one. Again, you should always be speaking to a lawyer. So, okay, well, we're going to note here at least, excuse my handwriting, 2,500 USD per month. And again, you're going to have temporary residency. Can't legally work. And it's kind of the same with the being able to have the same kind of dependents and those kinds of things. Like your spouse can be under that, your children under 25, and those things. Okay, so the next one that we're going to go over is the investor. Or, oops. Well, I've been putting them in Spanish here, so then you guys have to get used to these Spanish names. Inversionista. Okay, is the investor. Investor category. Okay, so for this one, there was a change in 2023 for this one too. So before you had to invest $200,000 into Costa Rica. So that could be through starting a business, buying a property. That's kind of the most common one, people buying properties. But now it's $150,000. So you have to invest $150,000 US dollars into Costa Rica. That could also be through a car purchase. That could be through the property purchase and the car together. Like you could even merge those together. So they lowered that amount, which is great. And it can't be shared with other investors. So let's say if you're a married couple, I think one of you has to have that investment, and then the other one's going to be the dependent. Again, always speak to a lawyer. That's why I have one. He gives me my information, but then I'm not a lawyer. I'm just giving kind of the general breakdown so you can see if you qualify or if you might qualify. So for a lot of people that I work with, they say, well, maybe I'm not of pension age yet. I don't have the qualifications for, the Rentista here, but I want to buy property one day, and likely it's going to be over the $150,000 US dollar. So that tells me, okay, this person likely, if they really love Costa Rica and they find their area that they love a lot, then they could qualify for, buying property and doing that. So that could be, you have residency in the future. Okay, so yeah, so we have dependents that you can have, or children under 25 or over 25 with special needs. It's going to be the same. It's similar to the other categories, and you cannot work. You can't work until you can't legally work. And you're going to get your temporary residency first, and then you're going to move over to permanent, and then permanent. Residence, permanent. Sorry, permanent. Okay. No working. But again, check out the other video about what you can do, because you can own a business. You can do things to generate income here that would technically be allowed. Okay, next one. Let's turn our little page here. Is going to be marriage to a Costa Rican citizen. So this one, again, might be one that you may not qualify for until the future, after you move. Who knows? Or perhaps I've had some cases where I've worked with couples that the wife is, one of the couple is Costa Rican. They actually met in their home country. They want to move back to Costa Rica and they're married. So that's one way. Or maybe the person is living in Costa Rica for some time and they end up falling in love and they get married here in Costa Rica. So that's another way that you can get your residency, which is pretty cool. Now there is some differences with this one. So this one is going to start with temporary residency, but you can legally work. You can work. So that's a difference. But I guess you got to, help support the family and everything. And this is something that gets granted for 1-year periods of residency. So you have to renew it annually for 3 years. So be renewed. Whatever. And yeah, annually for 3 years. So you have to renew it annually for 3 years, and then after that, you don't have to renew it anymore. You can just continue with your permanent residency. So this is one that's worth mentioning because who knows? Again, if you're watching this, you might move to Costa Rica and fall in love. You never know. But I'll also work with married couples, so I don't even really mention this one because I'm like, well, y'all are married anyway, so that's not going to work. And another one, the last one that I'm going to mention here is via immediate family relationship. So what does that mean? Okay, so this would be the most common is if you have a child here. So so let's say if you're a parent of a Costa Rican citizen, then you have an immediate family relationship, or siblings of underage Costa Rican citizens can also get their residency, or siblings of Costa Rican citizens with special needs, regardless of their age. So the one thing about this one too is you actually go straight to permanent residency. You go straight to permanent residency, which is pretty cool. Like you don't have to do the temporary, you don't have to do any of that. You go straight to permanent. That's what I did. So if any of you don't know me, I have a daughter. I got pregnant a year after I moved. She was born here and she's half Costa Rican. And yeah, so I went straight to permanent residency, which was pretty great. And what else about this one? Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's, like I said, siblings too, includes the siblings, as long as they're underage, or if they're not underage, but if they have special needs, then they can get that. And yeah, it's usually, like parents. So like if you're having a child here. So a lot of people have come, like I've had some couples who've moved here and, they got pregnant and had their child here and then they got their permanent residency. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I think I would say these are the major types that I'm gonna share with you. Maybe some benefits of having residency would be, well, you don't have to go do those border runs. Like you don't have to leave the country every 6 months, every 180 days to renew your visa. You can get better access to banking services. You can get discounts on some activities. So at the national parks, if you go with your residency card, and you get access to the public health care system that you will have to pay into. But those are some benefits that you can have a residency. I mean, the thing is, I always tell people there's no harm in waiting until you're 100% sure. So that's what I would say too, is like, don't be afraid just to wait. Don't feel like you have to rush into residency. I will have some people come and they'll know that they want to be a resident of Costa Rica. Like they come with their papers, they're ready to file. That's what they want to do. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. but there's no harm in waiting. Or I have some people say, well, I don't know if I want to file. I don't know if I want to be in Costa Rica long term. Like, I'm just still trying things out. And if that's the case, then don't file. You know, take your time and just be 100% sure until you're going to file. And especially if you don't qualify yet, then you might have to wait till you're going to file. Like if you're going to wait and buy that property, or like I said, maybe you fall in love, who knows? You get married. But I hope that this information is helpful. This is just, again, these are residency categories. These are not citizenship. This has nothing to do with the tourist visa or the digital nomad visa. Those are in a separate video, which is linked down below. These are residency categories, the most common ones here in Costa Rica. And I hope this is helpful. And remember to check out all the stuff in the description below. Remember, we got retreats, one-on-one services, new e-course that came out. That's my most affordable offering. And a podcast, woo! All right, well, thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next video.